All right, what is up, folks? Welcome back to another episode of the Help Me Understand podcast. I'm your host, Coach J.K. McLeod, and I'm kicking off a just off the dome open mic episode here. If you've been around for, let's say, the past year or so, I previously had done some Friday 4 episodes where I would just hit record on a Friday and think of 4 random things that have just been on my mind and just kind of talk about those particular things, whether it had to do with health and fitness, parenting, things that were going on pop culture wise, maybe even a little bit of politics, culture, just whatever. And this particular episode will be somewhat similar to that, only I'm recording and releasing on a Saturday, so I can't really call it a Friday 4. And, not everything needs to have a name. So the main thing you need to know is first, before I go any further, that I'm thankful for you being here. Always want to take a moment whenever I can to, at the beginning of the episode, express gratitude and say thank you for being a listener of the Help Me Understand podcast. We are quickly going to be approaching year number 6, would it be? Somewhere around there, of the Help Me Understand podcast. And I truly just never take it for granted that somebody chose to press play, and you specifically chose to press play on the Help Me Understand podcast. Just never take it for granted. So let's go ahead and get into today's topics. I've got 3 topics, and when I say that these are random, off the dome, just open mic style, I truly mean it, because I jotted these things down, I want to say within the past 20 minutes, because they were just kind of front of mind as I've been going throughout my morning. So in no particular order, first thing is going to be, let's talk about scamming season here. So at the time that this is being recorded and released, it is December, and that is holiday season. For those of you who might not be aware, I am not only a fitness coach, I am also in the retail management field, and I have been in retail for, I am 47 now. I've been in retail since I was about 17, right around there. My first job was not in retail. I was actually working at like a place that did interior car cleaning and detailing. Shout out to anybody from the Western New York area, or they may have, I think they've expanded past that, who is familiar with Delta Sonic. That was actually my very first job. And then I very quickly, within about a year or so of working there, transitioned into my first like mall store job. I think I worked at Champs Sporting Goods. I think that was the first place I worked when I got into retail. And then I had been hooked pretty much ever since. So again, with having been through multiple different iterations of the retail world, and I could tell stories for not days, not months. I could tell stories for years of just some of the most random things that happen. And I'm at a point now where just when I say nothing surprises me, nothing surprises me at this point, because for those of you who have been in the retail field, if you know, then you absolutely know. It's not that you expect, not that you never have things that happen that you wouldn't expect to happen. It's just that some of the most random stuff will happen and be like, yeah, this is this pretty much tracks with what people are like sometimes day to day. And I've actually found that it's served me extremely well in the coaching field. So anyways, I say all that just to say I have been through excuse me, I've been through a number of holiday seasons, and while scamming uh while scamming, is something that is prevalent year round. I mean, I swear it's 24/7, 365. Scamming is always happening. Over the holidays, it seems to uptick quite a bit more. And it's just coming front of mind for me these days, because the gift card season tends to be like a really super big uptick in scams. And as someone who is in I guess am I considered late 40s now, because I'm 47. So as somebody who is in their late 40s and becoming more aware of things that are being targeted towards folks like my parents and those in their 70s and beyond, and helping folks within that age bracket kind of navigate the different things coming their way, the gift card scams, the computer scams, the financial scams, like trying to attack people's bank accounts and all sorts of things like that. it just seems to really uptick over the holiday season for a number of reasons. My disclaimer, I guess, here would be that what I'm speaking of is not representative of any specific company. It's representative of just me, J.K. McLeod. Like, that's it. So when I speak, I'm speaking from my perspective and my perspective alone. And you never know, like, some of it might actually be right. Who knows? However, what I tend to see is there's an uptick just because you've got a lot more people spending more time online than they previously may have before. And kind of the thing that can make this really tough right now is, from my perspective and my lens, more and more and more companies are really trying to shift customers into embracing the digital age. So really trying to move people towards, like, away from paper. If you think about how often you used to go into a store and you would have like a sale paper. So even when I go to the grocery store now, there may still be some of the sale flyers. So there's a particular grocery store I go to here in our area, and I will still see that they'll have a little stack of sale flyers. However, if you think back, for those of you who are within my age bracket, and the analytics of this show tell me that I've got a decent amount of folks listening who can understand this. If you remember, we would go into a store and you would pick up one of the weekly ads or the sale paper up at the front, and that's what you would kind of go through as you were walking around the store to be able to find what all the deals are. Now, from the limited scope that I have, I do still see some grocery stores doing it, but typically you're not seeing stacks and stacks and stacks of these things. You're seeing a small stack, most likely, and maybe if there's somebody in the grocery store industry, you can kind of school me on this. Most likely, it's still to appease the older generation of customers that they have who prefer to have like a sales circular or a weekly ad, like a physical flyer. More and more and more, not just grocery stores, really just companies in general, whether you're talking grocery store, you're talking restaurant, you are talking hardline retail, you're talking softline retail. It's pretty much unheard of to not have some sort of an app or some sort of a digital platform, a website, something, especially if we're talking like rewards and things like that, where you're not trying to push people into some sort of a digital format. And having some insight with how things work behind the scenes, I mean, that is a very profitable way to have a relationship with your customers, because you can do data mining and get a really, really good understanding of preferences and different things like the psychographics and the demographics of the people who are shopping with you. But I say all that to say, because we as an industry, just a business, are shifting people more and more towards digital platforms, then that opens them up to folks who are literally making it like their career to scam them. So I'm not talking about just the simple or most basic of they hacked your account and got your password sort of a thing. I'm talking the stuff where people will misspell a website. Like I was working with somebody who unfortunately had been taken by a scam because they mistyped the name of a website, and basically scammers had bought the misspelled name of the website. And this is not the company, but I'm going to use an example. Let's say that you wanted to shop at Walmart and you were typing in walmart.com, and instead of hitting the T, like WALMART, the Y is right next to the T. So you typed in WALMARY. There would be a company that would actually buy Walmary.com, or there would be scammers who'd buy Walmary.com, and not noticing it, they would actually set up the whole site to make it look like it's Walmart. And then the next thing you know, somebody has entered their information into a website that basically was just phishing and took all their information. Some of the more prevalent stuff that I'm seeing these days, and again, just speaking from my perspective, is a lot of the scammer texts. I cannot make this up. I just before recording, let me see, I got this about 30 minutes ago, got a text, which is definitely like a scam text, and it's from an unrecognizable number that's not in my contact list, and it just says, "The weather's so nice today, let's go for a walk." So it's just random. And I'm just going to let you know that anybody who I would want to go for a walk with would be in my contacts list. Like that's just very, very simple. That person would already be in my contacts list. However, especially with the older generation, sometimes folks, it's easy for them to get really caught up in, oh, well, it's somebody who had the wrong number. So let me reach out to them and figure out who it was. And what happens is that person on the other line starts to begin a bit of a back and forth. And next thing you know, they've obtained some information and it's just kind of game over from there. One of the more prevalent things that I'm starting that is picking up steam now is gift card scams for sure. And in some of the interactions that I will have with folks where they're getting taken on these gift card scams, and this is both for males and females, is actually related to romance scams. So romance scams, just generally from a loose definition that I would have, would be people who are on some sort of a dating site, whether it be like Facebook dating or, gosh, I talked to a gentleman who was on like farmersonly.com. This was a few years back. I don't even know if that's still a thing. Just Facebook seems to be one of the ones that's picking up more steam just in the interactions that I will have with people. And there's a very consistent scheme where the individual on the other end will have the person that they're talking to, again, whether it be male or female. I've had interactions with both, not like on dating apps, by the way. I'm saying like I've had interactions with folks who've been victims of this, and some of them were willing to realize that they were, and some were not. They will have interactions with them. They'll ask them to download some sort of a different app. That's usually the way that it goes, whether it's WhatsApp or I don't think maybe Telegram, but WhatsApp is like a really big one, or there's a couple of other ones that I just can't think off the top of my head. They'll have them download that particular app so that the messaging is encrypted and do a whole lot of what we call love bombing. So they'll constantly call them like baby and sweetie and honey and lots of heart emoji usage and all these different things. And what will happen is somewhere along the line, there'll be some story about needing some sort of product, whether it be a product or a gift card, they'll need something. And the way that the gift card scam, one of the main gift card scams work is that the person will ask them to buy a gift card. So the victim then buys a gift card, whether it be like a Google Play gift card, an iTunes or Apple gift card, like the iTunes gift cards, and Amazon gift cards, something like that. And they will send the number to the person, their love interest, let's call that. So they send them the number. What happens then is that they get a message a few minutes later where they say, hey, can you go back to the store? Because when I went to put this number in, it didn't work. And what has actually happened is that the scammer has gone ahead and redeemed that particular card that they had been given. So they went ahead and they offloaded those funds. And now they're trying to get the victim to go back into whatever location they may have purchased that from, whether it be a gas station, a big box store, like a Walmart or whatever it may be, a Walgreens. I mean, you can buy gift cards just about anywhere these days. Then after they've purchased those, then the victim is now thinking, oh, snap, I'm sorry, something got messed up here. This $500 gift card that I sent you, somebody made an error at the store. I'll go back and correct it. And then now at that particular business, they're trying to figure out, well, what went wrong? And then the customer feels like they got scammed. The business is truly trying to do what they can to try to figure out what happened. And all along, this whole thing was actually just a scam because the scammer just took the gift card number, went ahead and redeemed it. Those funds are long gone. And now they're moving on to the next thing. And again, I guess my reason for saying this is just to not just make you, the listener, aware of these things that are happening. It's also to just share from my perspective. Many times when I'm in a conversation with somebody who has been a victim, and especially if they are in more like, let's say 70s plus, and they have adult children. So they may have children who are 30 plus years old. In some of these, and I would say a larger percentage of these conversations, that particular individual is scared to tell their family that they've been scammed because they are sharing a sense of embarrassment and disappointment that they totally got taken. And I guess my purpose is just to say, if you are somebody who has parents, relatives, aunts, uncles, grandparents, whatever it may be, who are getting more and more involved in the digital age, and they really don't this point, they really don't have a choice, especially when they're trying to manage like their medical documents and just even the basics that they do. Like I mentioned, going to the grocery store, if they want their points and they want their coupons and things like that, typically they're having to download some sort of an app. So they're doing more things digitally, doing what you can to try and leave the door open for conversation if something just doesn't seem right. I mean, I will, speaking from just personal experience, yes, I have both family members and family member adjacent people who will shoot me messages sometimes to ask, is this particular thing real, a screenshot, like that sort of a thing. And real talk, at first, I used to get a bit frustrated with it, and I no longer do, because I've been too often now, I've been on the other side where I'm talking to somebody who I don't have any sort of a personal relationship in any way, shape, or form. I just happen to be the individual at a business that's trying to help them through this, where they could have potentially avoided the most I've truly have dealt with in person is well into the 5-figure range of loss. There was a point as we were trying to help them work through these things where they truly could have either stopped or severely minimized the amount of loss that they incurred had they felt like the door was open for them to be able to have a conversation with a friend or a family member about what was going on. And, I'll close this one out and just move on to the next thing. It just really, the romance scam thing is just, it is hella real. Like it's massive, and just, it knows no gender. So you're talking like both from male to female, and it just typically tends to be folks that I've interacted with. Again, I know I'm dealing with a small sliver of the entire population. The folks that I tend to deal with tend to be in the, let's say, 60 plus range, actually, somewhere around there. So if you are somebody who has somebody that you care about within that particular bracket that's kind of getting more into the digital age, really try to make sure that you leave that conversation open or leave that door open to be able to get an understanding that, hey, if there's something that just doesn't seem right, let's work on it together. Because as awkward as that may be, I can just tell you, it's probably going to be way more awkward when you've got somebody who's like 26 grand in the hole. And yeah, that's not a number that I made up. So just wanted to talk a little bit about scamming season. All right. One other thing that came across my news feed, and this is totally, when I say off the dome, I mean off the dome, because this is totally unrelated to scamming season. I saw a post on Threads just this morning, and I may screenshot it and put it into my Instagram stories. However, I'm going to block out who posted it because I don't want to give the post itself more engagement. Because as I looked at the individual's profile, well, first, let me read you what the post said. It's a very simple post. It says, body positivity equals avoiding accountability for your health. And then when I looked at the profile of the person who posted it, the person's not a coach. They're not a coach. They're not in fitness. It looked like they were a CPA, I think, is what's in their profile. I'm not even going to go back to start looking at that point. I just screenshotted it so I could remember. The post said, body positivity equals avoiding accountability for your health. And from my perspective, this is I get it that online content, we who have online platforms are taught that the most polarizing posts and polarizing statements will get the most engagement. And posting something like this, body positivity equals avoiding accountability for your health. My first reaction was to jump in the comments and hit them up with help me understand what you've experienced that leads you to this particular conclusion, that body positivity means that you are avoiding taking accountability for your health. And instead of contributing to the engagement and then highlighting something that from my perspective, so that individual has their perspective, highlighting something that from my perspective, if I were to comment on that, it's just pushing more negativity. I want to share with you what comes to mind for me as I think about my own experience as someone who started, I'm 47. I started really, really getting into the gym on purpose, like stepped into a gym on purpose, under my own my own inspiration or motivation, whatever it might be, for the first time when I was about 30 or 31 years old. I want to say at that particular time, same height that I am now, about 6'2". I probably weighed around 250, might have even been a little bit more. And that 250 was a significant amount of body fat that I had at that particular time. What I can tell you is that had I been aware, so this would have been back in 2009, 2010. I can tell you that had I been aware of the the body positivity movement at that particular point in time, I likely would have been a supporter of the body positivity movement, because to me, and maybe me alone, and if you have a difference of opinion or you think the same, I would love to hear from you. To me, body positivity meant feeling positive about your body. I know that sounds like earth shattering and a completely wild definition, sarcasm included. And still, to me, body positivity is what it sounds like, being positive about your body. Here's the thing for me. Making a statement like body positivity is avoiding accountability for your health seems so wildly off the mark, because at the time that I decided to take accountability for my health, I didn't feel negative about my body. So at the time, as someone who, as I look back now, as someone who now is educated and completely engrossed and embedded in the fitness industry, like, and that's an understatement at this point, like JK back then could not have predicted JK now. Like, certainly wouldn't have the coach JK, or maybe I'd be a coach, but it definitely, like at that point, it would have been more along the business coach line. It definitely would not have been the fitness coach in any way, shape, or form. Like, trust me, in any way, shape, or form. However, at that particular time, I didn't have negative feelings about my body. I felt very positive about my body and the way that I presented myself. In fact, I really took a whole lot of pride in the way that I presented myself. And humbly, I wasn't lacking positive feedback, like external validation about that. At the time that I decided to take ownership over my health and take accountability for my health, I was married, and Ava, who's 19 now. I am not great at quick math, especially while I'm trying to record, but we had a daughter at the time. Mace hadn't been born at that particular time. I felt pretty good about my body. What I knew, though, is I knew I could do better. And I think that making a statement that body positivity means that you're avoiding accountability for your health is so wildly off the mark if you tend to think like I do, where it's okay for you to feel positive about something and also feel like it could be better. And I think spreading some sort of a message, like if you essentially, like my translation of this person's wording would be, if you feel good about your body, then that means you are not willing to take any steps to take care of your health. And I just have not found that to be something that's helpful. And that's one of the reasons why I initially had clicked on the person's profile, was because I wanted to see, okay, I legit expected this to be somebody in the fitness industry, and maybe they are, like, low key, maybe they're one of those folks who calls themselves a health coach and is actually selling like microdosing GLP-1s or some sort of like a shake or something like that. That's legit. Like blind study that, or just going into it blind, I had assumed that that's what I was going to see, and that's not what I saw. Because unfortunately, I expect to see posts like that from coaches, trainers, quote unquote health coaches, and things like that. And when I say air quotes health coaches, I'm talking about folks who are part of MLMs where they call themselves health coaches. I know folks who will call themselves health coaches who are well qualified and educated. It's just more often than not, from my view and my algorithm, my news feed. Where I typically am seeing that is folks who are part of MLMs who don't have any sort of formal education, formal training, and certainly a very small, if any, amount of actual experience working with people, helping them achieve particular fitness goals and things like that. So I just, instead of trying to really focus on the negative aspect of this post, I really wanted to, my intention here is just to say, if you are someone that you don't, excuse me, let me go back. You don't have to buy into the narrative that you can't appreciate how your body looks and what your body can do in order for you to actually take accountability for your health. And when we're saying for your health, whether you are focusing more on body, on aesthetics, or focusing more on like your internal health, or you're focusing more on just body composition or some combination of the two, or you're focusing on what your body can do, so you're focusing on strength. When I talk fitness, when I say that I'm a fitness coach and I help people achieve their fitness goals, I purposely look at fitness as a whole big umbrella with a lot of things underneath it. It's how you look, it's how you move, and it's how you feel, and it's what your body can do, what you're capable of. Like, very simple for me. And that's not some definition I have written down. So I just am so adamant that when you see a statement where somebody says body positivity means that you're avoiding accountability for your health, I want you to take that and move on, because I would sincerely question the motive of someone who is telling you that. So it is, to me, it's kind of a cop out with basically saying, hey, I need you to hate yourself in order to truly help you make progress. And maybe it's because I'm biased and I don't focus a lot on negative self-image that people may have, negative body image. Folks that truly like hang with me, whether they appreciate it or not, they would probably tell you that I don't do a ton of negativity talk. And my intention there is not to just ignore things that suck, or ignore something that you're not happy with, or ignore a situation that's bad. To me, it's obvious that the bad thing is there. Like, it's completely obvious. Stevie Wonder can see how bad a thing might be. They can see that an accident has happened. They can see that the roof just fell down. They can see that it's raining, so you're going to get wet. Like, those things can be seen. Continuing to focus on that, all that does is just give more power to the negative thing. So I just tend to really focus on, if the person comes to me and says, I've put on, like, I'm overweight, I am not strong, I don't have the ability to do the things that I want to do. I used to lift 5 days a week. Now I barely lift 2 days a week. I'm inconsistent. Okay, cool. Now that we understand that, what is the next step? What can we do now? Like, what's the next step that we can do? And folks who are constantly like selling themselves on their suck story, like thing that really sucks, and I'm really just continuing to invest in their failure scenario and all that stuff, like, those are the folks that, from my experience, just tend to keep themselves on just the eternal, like, just going around the track of picking things up and putting them down and picking it up and putting them down, because they continue to put energy into the negative stuff. And that's just not my vibe. My vibe is more like, yeah, recognize that there are things that you don't feel great about. And also, what can you do about that? And what are things that you can use to your advantage in order to move the needle forward? So I'm going on a rant now, so I will go ahead and start to wrap this up. My third thing, and this will be a quick one just to wrap it up. I'm recording this again on a Saturday. So I am just a few days removed from having my wisdom teeth removed. Yes, I'm in my mid to late 40s. We still haven't decided. You can let me know. Is 47 mid 40s or is it late 40s? I'm in my mid to late 40s and just had my wisdom teeth removed. I was just having a lot of pain over the past, it's been over a month and a half at this point, and thought it would kind of go away. It didn't go away. Finally got into the dentist, did the scheduling, and you know how folks probably know how all that goes with finally getting all that scheduled. So just got that particular procedure taken care of. So got all 4 of those removed. just a few days ago. And I mentioned that just to say, with taking some time off from lifting anything super heavy, and I still at this point have not lifted really heavy. I'm recording this on a Saturday. Yesterday, Friday, was the first day that I actually went back into the gym to lift anything. And for the next at least week, I'm still going to keep things fairly light. I cut the volume back a bit and the intensity. I'm just leaving a lot of reps on the table just because I'm getting back into the flow. And then also following the advice of doing particular things that hopefully will reduce the possibility of getting dry socket. I think something, just anecdotally, I think something that did help is that because I didn't go through like full sedation and just did like a local numbing thing, I think that helped potentially for myself, the recovery process a bit more. So that was cool. All that to say, man, going through that was like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So 4 days of no lifting. And then also still now for this next upcoming week, also keeping it really light, has just reminded me to be grateful. I am so grateful for the ability to move my body. I really focused on getting steps in where I could over the recovery period. And I'm still in that recovery period. I'm certainly not out of the woods here yet, still dealing with a little bit of soreness, a little bit of pain, but nothing like what I was dealing with going into it. So thank God that's through. I just want to take this moment to close the episode out and just really just express gratitude for being able to still move my body, still get into the gym and still lift. And even on the days that I couldn't lift, just still move. So if you've been through any sort of thing, not specifically like dental surgery, just if you've been through any sort of experience where for a while or maybe permanently, respectfully, something like that was taken away from you and it wasn't something that you could do, then you likely are very, very aware of how much of a blessing it is to be able to actually do some things that just remind you, like, yeah, it is a privilege to be able to move when you want to move. So all right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and close out this episode. So thank you again, if you've listened this long, for tuning into another episode of the Help Me Understand podcast. If you like formats like this, where sometimes I just kind of go off the dome and just kind of ramble for a little bit, let me know. Love to hear your feedback. You can hit me up on Instagram at Coach JK McLeod, MCLEOD, or you can email me, email address jk@jkmcleod, again, MCLEOD. So thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.